Good evening. I'm going to give you a general background for what the UPSC has for prelims as well as mains geography. I am a geography teacher with about 30 years of experience and have been teaching both at the school level, college level, and at the IAS level. So, in brief, when you take on the subject geography, you would have studied a little bit of everything in school, but now I'm going to give you a bit of a few more details as to how we go about teaching the subject and the things that we are likely to learn during for the UPSC exam. So we generally have a topic called general geography. General geography is comprised of two aspects, the physical and the human aspect. And then we have regional geography, which deals with both physical and human geography. In our context, it is with reference to India. Physical geography is further classified into three aspects. We have physical, under which we go down to further details such as geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography. Then we have biological geography or living geography, or also called as biogeography, and a combination of both physical and biological geography helps us to understand the environmental aspect. In human geography, we have population, we have economic geography, and settlements. Population, as you know, has various uh, topics such as growth of population, distribution, and so on. Economic geography is further classified into the various economic activities, as you can see listed here: agriculture, industry, and tertiary activities. Tertiary activities are further broken down into topics of transport, trade, and tourism. And then we have settlement geography, that is where people live. And when people live, we classify them as two basic areas such as rural and urban. Let us go into a few more details for physical geography. So when we're talking of physical geography, we, we teach about landforms, then we have theories, and we have geological events. So for example, when we talk of landforms, we have first order, second order, and third order landforms. This is our first order landforms, which is the all the continents and the oceans. And if you look closely into each continent and ocean, you have the second order landforms, which are mainly plateaus, mountains, and you have valleys and so on. This is the third order. So you have mountains as a broad division as first order, and then you have plateaus and you have a plain. Then you go into climatology, for example. Under this, we talk everything about the atmosphere. We learn everything about the atmosphere, and this is a very important aspect today, especially in contemporary geography, where a whole lot of things are happening, such as climate change, climatic events, and so on and so forth. So we get to understand these in greater detail. So when we talk about atmosphere, it is temperature, pressure and winds, humidity, and so on and so forth. Then you do have to study a bit about the types of climatic classification, right, and climatic events, such as your cyclones and so on and so forth. Then here, for example, you have an example of how the temperature changes as you go up in the atmosphere through the various layers. Then the various events we have, that is the ionosphere. This is the position of the sun in the Arctic region, right? So all this has a lot to do with what the temperature of a place is, and you can also get to understand why. Then we have the pressure belts. So pressure belts, as you know, in school you would have done this diagram, right? But then we do it in greater detail. We try to understand Coriolis force using a wide variety of experiments and animations, right? And this last picture that has come up is actually good for us to understand, because this is why we have something called as global warming. Then we have the climatology in terms of cyclones here. This is the major cyclone that hit US in a long time back, and it actually went up right up uh, to the New York region, which is not really a place where you have cyclones, right? Then you also understand the water cycle, right? And we have various types of, in the water cycle itself, it's not just evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. It's much more complex than that. So at the IAS level, you need to be aware of many more things that are a part of our climatic system. Oceanography deals with both the physical aspects of the ocean as well as the biological aspects. Under physical aspects, we divide it into the actual ocean floor and what are the physical features there. And then we have the water features such as the tides and the waves and currents, ocean currents, and how they affect life in general. Biological looks at all the living things. Where in the oceans do we have many living things, and so on and so forth, right? And we go into detail, especially like you study about, yeah. So this is the physical aspect where you have the ocean plates and what the ocean plates are doing and what's happening under the ocean floor, right? And that's actual picture of the ocean floor. Previously, we used to think it was flat, but today we know that it is not at all flat, except in the Pacific Ocean, the other ocean. So this is the Pacific Ocean. As you can see, is a lot of blue here, so it's quite flat, but the edges are all having deep trenches. That's all those black lines that you see, and then you need to study the names of these trenches in the prelims and where they are located, and maybe some information with regards to each. This is the map of the Atlantic Ocean, which, as you can see, it's completely made up of what we call as ridges, made up because, as you saw in the previous slide, how the volcanic matter comes out and forms these ridges. And these are the living things. These are different kinds of coral. And as long as they have color, they are alive. Then we come to human geography aspect. So under population, I told you we have population as one major aspect, and then settlement, economic geography, regional planning. Under population, we look at population growth, the features of our population, natural, cultural effects, and so on. It is very important for us to know the features, because only then we can make what do you call it, proper plans, and we can make proper decisions regarding the population of our country. Then we go on to, so for example, we have population as 7 billion, right? And therefore by 2045, we're expecting 9 billion, and this is what we look at, right? So there is congestion everywhere. Population is rising pretty rapidly, and we need to take into consideration several social, economic, and cultural factors as to understanding why population is rising so much, right? And then we're looking at not only just population, but we look at various theories, and this many theories deal with about the amount of food available for such a large population and how that can be well met. Then in settlements, we look at rural urban, and in that we have types, features, and theories. So this is one theory known as Crystallis theory, and this is of course under specific conditions, but more or less this is the kind of pattern that we see as to how villages develop, and then the villages become towns, and the towns become cities, and the cities become a regional capital area. This is with reference to different models of towns and cities, how they grow. Either they grow as in circles, or they may grow as bands, as you can see here, right? Or they may have several nuclei, and around which you have several other activities that take place. Economic geography deals with agriculture and industry, and we try and understand how the agricultural lands are distributed over the region, okay? And each region, each country is quite different, and depending on each country, we study different aspects. Then we have the location of cities. This is in terms of how a central city would develop, and over in time what happens to it. Finally, we come to environmental geography, which is actually the most important aspect, because we look at the environment today, a lot of things are happening. So under this, we talk about ecosystems, soils, and disasters. In ecosystems, we look at the biomes of the earth. So we have various biomes such as equatorial and so on and so forth. So you have the equatorial biome here, and that is what it looks like. That's the number of animals that you have there. This is the savanna that we have in Africa, right? This is the polar region. Again, these are polar region where you can see these plants growing only for a very short period of time. Then, so that's how, so we have here. Then we have disasters or other problems. Like this is what we see here in your screen is called rill erosion, right? And then we have gully erosion. As you can see, it completely destroys the land, right? And here is what gully erosion can do and can make life very difficult for people in these regions. So that's with reference to the soil. And then finally, we look at the disasters. So disasters like this is obviously an earthquake and how it can completely demolish cities. As you can see, we try and I think we are good architects and we build fantastic buildings and all. And one earthquake and everything just comes down. And then we have volcanic activity, which is very interesting. And uh, that's, and then finally, we have our own man-made disasters, which is pollution. So pollution here, as we can see, we have completely destroyed the atmosphere, we have destroyed the water, right? And that's how it is. So I hope you understand that when you talk of geography, you're actually talking of geography in a very large area, right? And it is a lot, it's a very complex subject, okay? And we expect that you understand each aspect and you will be taught these aspects in detail so that you'll have better understanding of your surrounding and you'll be able to study many more things so that that will help you to become a good IAS officer. Thank you.